So yeah, I really, really liked this one. I feel like the first half of the episode, I was like, it's pretty good. I'm enjoying this. And then the second half of the episode just really roped me in. I was like, this is some top tier shit, actually. But to start with, I thought the opening of the episode, showing Layla be ingenuitive and save the day, that was nice. That was a fun scene. Kind of reaffirms what I said in the last episode, though, how that scene of Arthur saying all that stuff to Khonshu should have been the opening of this episode, because it was nice to have, a kind of exciting moment start the episode off, but I think, again, it would have worked a little better if the opening moment is Arthur having this deep moment with Khonshu, and then you proceed on to Layla and Steven, in my opinion. I mean, maybe that is originally how it was, and they were like, no, it doesn't work, so I don't know. But then we hit a section of the episode that went on, in my opinion, a little too long, just because of the content. And it was all the stuff with Steven and Layla and how they were like growing closer and sort of falling for each other, which I don't really know how I feel about that. My gut instinct is like, no, icky, weird, don't think that's a good idea. But at the same time, Steven is another person who just happens to share that body, and if she is more compatible with him and he likes her, I don't know, I feel like the fact that Mark was married to her at any point in his life kind of just means that no other personality can date her. I don't know. It's sort of the bro code, But as soon as they got into the tomb, I think the episode definitely started to pick up. Because then there was some stuff about, Layla and Steven, but not really. That wasn't the focus. It was about, the mystery. It was trying to figure out the maze and figure out whose tomb that this is. And the fact that that was Alexander the Great's is fucking cool. And the moment the episode, really got going for me, which is actually a little bit earlier than the halfway point, is when they go into, I don't know the name of the room that they were in, but where a lot of mummification appeared to have been happening. Because immediately the tone of the next couple sequences took a much more sinister, horror-like one, and I was like, all right, I'm down, I'm digging it. I think in terms of horror, it was very lackluster. I get the feeling they didn't want it to be too scary, but there were aspects of these scenes that were exceptionally tense and if not fully a horror moment, bordering on it, definitely getting close to it. I think it was extremely brutal to see that man literally be killed on screen and immediately start having organs pulled out of him and shoved into those jars. That was actually disgusting, pretty graphic. No, it's not an R rating. They didn't show him actually ripping the organs out of his body. It was always out of focus or just slightly out of shot. And in terms of blood, it was definitely minimal. But again, that's fucked up. That's really fucked up. And the tension of her, trying to wiggle around the side of the table, not make any noise, and then the two of them are really panicking. It was great. I really, really liked that scene. It made me super uncomfortable, but that's why I liked it. And then the scene after that with Layla, scaling the side of the wall. Not only did I like that because it's such an Indiana Jones thing to, be plunged into this perilous moment where you have to cling to the side of a rock wall, but the added horror element of the mummy that's chasing her, it really worked for me. Especially the second time she crosses over that just dark gap in the wall, and ooh, that got my heart racing. I was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I mean, honestly, there were several moments during this sequence that really got my heart to just spike, which I wasn't really expecting. I expected it to be more adventurous and fun than it was tense and scary, but it actually got me a couple times. It was pretty good. I love the conversation she had with Arthur right after that. I don't like that she had to go through that, but I think it's totally in character for Arthur to be like, why don't I fuck this relationship up just a little bit more so I can get what I want. Because I don't believe for a second that he gives a shit about her well-being or, finding out the truth. In most scenes like this, I usually get irritated because I'm like, just stop listening to the dude and just go find the thing you're looking for. But in this case, she knows Steven's out there looking for the same thing, so I think in her mind, not only did she want to know the truth, but she was like, the longer I keep him talking to me right here, the longer he doesn't have, Amit's, I don't remember what they kept calling it, the little rock statue. Finding Alexander the Great's tomb was awesome. Not only did it look really cool, but again, just like the concept of Alexander the Great was actually the avatar for Amit, the big boogeyman of Egyptian gods. Like, I don't know, that's just such a cool fucking concept. I don't need them to ruin it with flashbacks of Alexander the Great doing his thing or anything like that. Again, just the concept alone, it makes me smile. I really like that they did that. And that was disgusting, reaching down his throat, too. Like, ugh. And then, of course, Layla and Arthur show up and, party's over. The scene between her and Mark was intense because I can't believe he hid that from her. Like, that's such a huge thing to not reveal to somebody. And then proceeded to fall in love and marry her, and at no point told her, hey, I was there the day your dad died. I'm kind of the one responsible, actually. That's really bad, man. And I was thoroughly shocked when Arthur shot him twice. Again, I'm like, there's no way they're going to kill off the main character in the first season of the show. But I don't know how you survive 2 gunshots to the heart. And they certainly didn't play it off like, oh, maybe he's okay, I didn't see any blood or anything. I'm like, there was, blood was starting to pool up. He looked pretty dead. And then what has to be everyone's favorite sequence from the episode, if it's not, I'm thoroughly surprised. But the whole psychiatric ward section, it was just so cool. Like, visually, it looked very cool just because everything's in white, with the whole Moon Knight aesthetic. All the little, details hidden in there of, Steven's boss holding the scarab thing. I think I saw one of the patients had, a drawing that had Khonshu on it or something. And I think, even though I'm sure everyone's immediate reaction is like, oh, what? No, that's bullshit. For a split second, you're like, oh, wait, was it all fake? And then you realize, no, this is a Disney Plus Marvel show about a superhero. Bullshit, it's all fake. But they just keep rolling with everything. They're like, oh, look, there's the goldfish, there's the scarab, there's the Moon Knight action figure, there's how you're tied to the bed. They tied up so many things that at first I was like, maybe it is real, but then they continue to do that, and I'm like, there's too many things now. Now it feels like they're really trying to get me to believe that, and I don't. But then once again, Ethan Hawke kind of comes through, and the way he speaks, he's a great manipulator. Because I was starting to fall for it a little bit. I'm like, maybe it is bullshit. But then obviously it's not. It's a Disney Plus Marvel show about a superhero. And that was really cool seeing him, I guess, meet Steven for the very first time. And frustrating that they didn't open the other fucking sarcophagus. To me, that is very much confirmation there is a third personality lingering around in his head. But it seems like that one is locked up real tight, so I am curious. And there's only 2 episodes left, so I'm like, do they have enough time to explain that, or are we just not going to do that in the first season? And then the very ending of the episode, I'm sure other people might know what the hell happened right there, but I'm like, it's a big anthropomorphic hippo woman. What the fuck? I would assume it's an Egyptian god, considering, a lot of Egyptian gods have an animal head or something. But yeah, that was weird. I thought the scream from the 2 of them was a little much. That was one of those okay, that's kind of hokey, but it did make me smile. But moving on to the technicals. Writing in this episode, I think, was very strong, actually. There's some stuff in here that personally I wasn't a huge fan of, namely the stuff with Steven and Layla, just because it just makes me feel weird. But the fact that this episode was all about, like tomb raiding, and it had lots of Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider, Uncharted kind of vibes to it, I really liked all of those aspects about it. Like figuring out the maze by having the knowledge about, the Eye of Horus, the Eye of Mind, I thought was really cool. Character motivations all seemed extremely on point. Mark kind of being the asshole that he is like, I don't want Layla involved in this. This is a suicide mission. We got to get the fuck out of here. Steven, again, constantly showing his worth of having all this knowledge about ancient Egypt. And even though I think it's kind of weird, I do think it makes sense for Layla to be in like such a hurt place and wanting to seek some kind of affection from Steven, because it is the same body that she has, been with for however many years, but it's a different person, and it's a person that actually tells her the truth and seems to value her a little bit more than Mark does. So again, even though I think it's weird, I think it does make sense for her to seek some comfort from him. And even though it frustrated me, her being so pissed about the reveal about her dad and wanting to know right then and there, I do understand. I'm like, I think she would do that, even though, again, it frustrated me so much. I'm like, oh my god, later, have this conversation later, fucking hell. Tons of plot progression in this one. They did not revive Khonshu, which surprised me. Even more surprising is I wasn't all that upset that we didn't have any like Moon Knight scenes in this. It was just a powerless Mark and Steven, but it still was great. Like the whole tomb raiding thing, all the extra knowledge about ancient Egypt, the big twist at the end where he gets shot and then somehow is in this weird psychiatric ward. Like that whole thing, I'm like, I don't know if it's like an illusion that Ahmet is creating. I don't know if when he fell into the water, it like literally put him in like the river Styx kind of thing. Guys, I don't know. Is it all just a huge hallucination that he's having as he's dying? Like, who's to say? I guess we'll find out. And finally, the pacing. The pacing was choppy, but I think every single episode, the pacing has been a little bit of an issue. Because again, the episode starts with this exciting moment with Layla saving Steven and herself, and then you slow way down to do all this Layla-Steven like relationship building, which again, I would have preferred to spend time elsewhere, so for me, those scenes were definitely dragging. But I think as soon as they get inside the tomb, the pacing completely corrects itself. It manages to go from like tense and or, intriguing and exciting back to calm, and then moving from action to dialogue. Like it's just a very nice flow. There doesn't seem to be any choppiness to it at all once they get to the tomb. So overall, I enjoyed the writing quite a bit, but there were a few hiccups, so I'll do an 8 out of 10. Editing in this episode seemed very good. Almost all the edits leading up to the final psychiatric ward moment I thought were serviceable. Nothing bad, but nothing really great. I did enjoy the very long takes that they would do during the sequence of Layla like shimmying across the rock wall. That really helped add up on the tension and everything, which I appreciated. But yeah, as soon as they get to the psychiatric ward, there's some editing choices there that were so good. Specifically, the scene of Arthur and Mark having their talk. Like, the way they would just cut back and forth between all these various items in the room that reflect, the real world, or what Steven thinks is, his imagination. Or Mark, god damn it. Because there were so many times where the edit would happen right on the beat of the score that was playing through that, and it really tied it all together. It made that scene, in my opinion, it's something you could show to like a film class. Like, this is how you amplify tension and build up energy over the course of an entire scene. So that just super impressed me. And the rest of it I thought was all very serviceable, so I'll do a 9 out of 10. Cinematography cinematography was fantastic. I mean, the opening shot of the episode is, I think it's Horace's avatar, but him like walking down the hallway upside down, which typically in cinema, you know, it tells you things are not right. Things have gone awry. But there were just some other choices that were made in the episode relating to like the movement of camera, which I thought was really well done. Like the choice to dolly with Mark as he's running through the psychiatric ward. Again, it just really adds to the energy of the scene. It makes it flow that much more. I really like the choice of like when Layla is scaling the side of the rock wall, it's like this close-up on the ledge that she's standing on as it's like starting to break away, and then it just very slowly pans like way out to show you this gap that she has to cross. The thing breaks, it's this moment of tension, and then the camera like swings back to a more center frame and then like dollies forward into the dark cavern that she just passed, and it was just such a smart move, because again, they didn't have to do that. They could have set up, you know, the tension of whatever's behind that in another way, but for them to do it like that, where it kind of sweeps you away from even really looking at it to then making it so that that's the only thing you can see, it was just a great choice. And on top of that, the show still uses a lot of handheld cinematography, which I think is well done in this show. It's almost always either to make the scene feel more grounded and real, or to show you that, you know, something's off. You should feel tense for some reason. So yeah, I thought the cinematography was outstanding in this one, so I'm doing a 10 out of 10. Sound design, I also think, was phenomenal in this one. I said at the beginning of the episode that the sound design is like really grown on me in this show, but I feel like it's gone a little past that, because this episode was... oh man, it was good. Reintroducing some of the themes that we heard in the first episode during the psychiatric ward was great, especially because those were some of my favorite bits of the score in the first episode.
N39.
I mean it when I say there's every chance I'm gonna try and like download the score for this show, just so I can get the song that's used during the, you know, the big scene between Dr. Harrow and Mark. Because again, just the way that builds and builds throughout the entire scene, and then, you know,
It's understood.
culminates in this big moment of him running down the hallway and quite visually seeing that this can't be real. Completely 100% up my alley. Like, I love that. 10 out of 10. The acting is another really strong category for this one. And this is one of those episodes where I'm like, I can't pick, you know, a top performer in this one. I think Ethan Hawke was astoundingly good during his scene with Layla, and clearly manipulating her, but at the same time, not exactly hiding that. I don't exactly know how to describe it. Like, the way he plays that character is just so, not charismatic, but it just glues you to the screen. Like, you can't take your eyes off of him. Oscar Isaac, again, just the fact that he plays Steven and Mark is fucking hard and really impressive, how distinguished he's made each character. But also his, like, drugged up acting when he's on the sedatives, I thought was really, really good. And his big revelation to Layla. As much as I don't like Mark, I really felt how much that hurt him to not tell her that, and how much it hurt him that he wasn't able to save her dad and those other people. So yeah, he did a great job. And I also think that May Kalamawe did like such a good job during her scene with not only just Arthur, because again, she's so angry, but at the same time, she's desperate for the truth, but also doesn't want to give this asshole the satisfaction of, you know, helping her out. So there's just so many different ways she's playing that scene at the same time, and it really comes across well. And then just the outright rage and like betrayal that she feels towards Mark. Again, it's really, really tangible. So yeah, literally every actor, or at least every main actor, was really, really good. 10 out of 10. Costumes and makeup, I think, were very, very good as well. Especially, oh my god, the mummies were fucking cool. Like, terrifying. They really freaked me out. But I think the look of them, it was simplistic enough so that it wasn't like ridiculous, but it was also close enough to like what you imagine a mummy or a zombie to look like. So it was really cool. I especially liked the gold mask that the one of them had on. Thought that was very cool. And I didn't mention it during sound design, I should have, but like the clicky noise that it would make, it's always just like like that shit really unsettled me. Great choice. But again, like all the stuff in the real world I thought was very in character, looked great, and I loved all the stuff in the mental hospital. Because again, it's all in white and beige, which should be a tip off that, you know, this isn't real, because it's all just in the color scheme of Moon Knight. Like, what hospital actually is just white everywhere? Like every inch, every clothing. But anyways, I really enjoyed all the costumes they did for that. I think they did a great job making Arthur in that situation still look like it's kind of something he would wear, but it's definitely the... You know, it's the innocent version of him. It's the nice version of him. The one that feels less threatening. So yeah, I got no issues with it. I'm going to do another 10 out of 10. Set design. This might be another 10 out of 10 situation because I loved the set design on this one. The hospital, again, I just said, like everything being just pure white. It had a great look to it. It really added to the surrealism of it all. And obviously it's, you know, the colors of Moon Knight, so it makes sense. Even just the design of that hospital, not even from like a storytelling perspective, just an architectural one, it looked really cool. Like the lighting fixtures on the ceiling were very creative and modern looking. I loved it. But also the tomb looked so good. There's a lot of like tomb raiding adventure stuff where I'm like, oh, I'm really enjoying the movie, but that looks super fake or doesn't really look old enough, you know, something like that. In this case, I'm like, I don't know, like every set looked great. Weirdly enough, I think my favorite set of the episode was probably the big cavern room. Because just visually, from Layla's side, looking at Arthur, seeing like the little slight spiral staircase lead up into the rock side and, you know, just darkness beneath them, it just looked fantastic. It looked great. So yeah, 10 out of 10. Finally, the visual effects, which unfortunately, it's not going to get a 10 out of 10. However, there were a decent amount of visual effects in this episode, and a lot of them did look very good. The visual effects that they utilized during the big action scene with Layla on the cliff wall, there were moments that I thought looked perfect, great, and a couple moments that slightly looked a little off. Like when you see the mummy like cross over like behind where she's at, it seems pretty clear that that's like an added in post kind of situation because the lighting just doesn't match up properly. And then there's also a moment right before that where you see like a bunch of like little pebbles and dirt like fall off of the thing she's standing on, and it looked fake. It was one of those moments where I'm like, I think everyone knows that that's not real. However, the like prosthetic, or not prosthetic, but you know, the severed arm with the bone sticking out looked very, very good. It was in a low lighting situation, so, you know, they got to cheat a little bit with it, but hey, that's what it's all about. And obviously all the green screen that's used during this whole scene and the, like, digital set extension of the cavern below, it all looked very, very good. The anthro hippo lady at the very end, I don't know what god it is, I'm not gonna look it up. That looked very good. That was one of those moments where I'm like, okay, Thanos, like, that's convincing, actually. I liked the use of a practical effect for the gunshot. I think it definitely makes a difference. At least I think maybe it wasn't practical actually. Well, good job on the effect anyways. I thought it looked good. But my favorite bit of visual effects in the episode was probably when I think he's dying. Like, I think that's what's going on. But when he's like floating down under the river with all this golden light on him that fades into like the white light and everything. I thought that was very cool. It's a simple effect too. It's not like anything super crazy. That was definitely just, well, actually the like the water and all the stuff at the top, that's a bit of a difficult effect. The rest of it's fairly simple, but still, it looked great. And of course, seeing Steven and Mark, you know, right next to each other with a moving camera, not easy, and they did a great job. So yeah, there were a couple hiccups, but for the most part, I think the effects were very solid in this one. So I'll do an 8 out of 10. And that gives this episode a 9.4 out of 10, which I think might be the highest rated I've done for the season. I don't really feel like going back and watching my other videos to find out. And I don't know, I can't really tell if I like this one more than the first episode or if I like it the same. Because the first episode thus far, I think, was the best one. I don't know, the second one was pretty damn good. Regardless, I loved this episode. This, if it wasn't my favorite, it's like my second favorite of the 4 that I've watched. I have no idea how they're gonna follow this one up. I mean, I would assume they're gonna explain what's going on with Hippo Lady and, you know, the psych ward and all that. Now I'm like, with 2 episodes left, how are they gonna get Conchu free? Like, my leading theory at the moment is that Layla's gonna be the one that has to go do it, because I don't even know if Mark is alive anymore. But I think that would make the most sense. Like, you know, while he's dead or dying, she goes and gets Conchu, you know, while he figures all his shit out. So maybe that's what we're gonna do. I don't know. I'm excited though. This show has not let me down. This is a pretty damn good one. So I will see you all for the next one, and that's about it.